This is lesson 12 of the no-nonsense A-level physics tuition sessions. And this one is all about the photoelectric effect again. So more about photoelectricity. Well, let's just see where we were up to. We had just found the equation for the photoelectric effect. Let's make a little note of that. The energy of an incoming photon, which is hf, or we could write it as hc over lambda, because c equals f lambda, is equal to the work function, the minimum energy required to free an electron from the surface of a metal, and also Ek max, the maximum kinetic energy that we get for our photoelectrons. Let's just label this. We've already got this on the previous page of notes, but it's good to put it on here again. So this is maximum kinetic energy of photoelectrons. This here is the work function, which we have already defined. And this here is the photon energy. And last session, we also looked at the vacuum photocell. So a quick reminder of the vacuum photocell. Let's leave it like that. Quick reminder of the vacuum photocell. What we had was the vacuum photocell. Might as well write the title. We had an electrode. We had a photocathode, we call it, like this. And so I should probably label that photocathode. Whoops, photocathode. Photocathode. And the photocathode was illuminated with electromagnetic radiation of a certain frequency. And that frequency was equal to, well, let's call it F, so a certain photon energy, HF. And if we had that, then we had electrons coming off this surface like this. And last session, we learned that if we put a potential difference across the vacuum photocell, like this, in this particular polarity, and connected a voltmeter, we could measure the potential difference that was necessary to stop the electrons reaching the other side of the photocell. And we could detect that by using an ammeter, which I suppose I could, let's get the eraser out. I suppose I could erase this bit here and add an, what's it called? Add an ammeter over here. Probably a microammeter, because it's going to be very small currents indeed. So we had something like that. And so we have the photocurrent. So photocurrent becomes zero when, well, when what? Well, when we had a potential difference, V, equal to what we call the stopping potential. And what does that mean? Well, that means that the electrons, even the most energetic electrons, in that situation, the most energetic electrons, Ek max, released from the surface, they have an energy equal to E times the stopping potential, E being the charge of the electron. So that's what we were looking at last time, and that's kind of where we were up to. I don't know if there's actually that much more we need to talk about, other than what we've already said. So if we perform the experiment, now what would the experiment be? The experiment would be to measure the work function of a metal, for example, or we could measure Planck's constant using this. Experiment to measure the work function. What we could do is we could start with V equal to 0, like that. We could then slowly increase V until the current, photocurrent, is equal to 0. And then we can measure the V, which is equal to the stopping potential. Now, we could do that for different energies of photons. Do for different photon energies. And why do we do that? Well, why do we do anything when we repeat a process? It's so we can produce a graph. So what would that graph look like? Let's just draw a vertical line down like this, and this is going to be results of experiment. And our results might look a bit like this. On the y-axis, very carefully drawn as a very dodgily straight line, we would have EK max. And how do we know EK max? Well, we know EK max because it's equal to EVS. So instead of EK max, we could actually put here EVS. In fact, we don't know what E is, so we could just put here VS. And on the y-axis, or the x-axis, sorry, we could put, that's supposed to be a straight line. In fact, I've got a straight line tool, haven't I? Why am I not using it? I paid extra for a straight line tool. Right, come on, think it through. Let's draw my axes first, just like that, just like that. So now I'll label it VS, and over here I might put F, the frequency of the electromagnetic radiation, like that. Now remember, the equation is HF equals phi plus EVS in this case. Now we need to rearrange that into the form y equals mx plus c. So what are our constants? What are our variables? This is a variable, and this is a variable, just like that. So we've got variable and another variable. But we also have some constants, and we've got E as a constant, phi as a constant, and H as a constant. And I'm just going to write one of them, maybe put some arrows like that, and then, oh, that's just dodgily drawn, isn't it? Constants. And we need to get it in the form y equals mx plus c. We need to get that into form y equals mx plus c. Now the form y equals mx plus c is variable equals constant times variable. That's a variable. That's a variable. Constant times variable plus constant. So these are our two constants. 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 So we need to rearrange this equation to get it into that form. Well, that's not too bad. That's quite easy to do. What we're going to do is subtract phi first and then divide through by E. So we end up with VS equals HF over E subtract phi over E. Just like that. Or, to keep it in the form y equals mx plus c, we could put H over E F subtract phi over E. And if we know the charge of the electron, then by measuring the y-intercept, we will be able to determine what phi is. That's how that works. And if we measure the gradient and we know what the charge of the electron is, we'll be able to determine what H is equal to. Just like that. So what would our results look like? Well, they're going to look a little bit like this. We're going to, let's use blue, result and a straight line. Our results are going to show a line that does something like this. Because there is a frequency below which we can't get anything anyway. So it wouldn't even look like that. It would just do this. And we know what that particular value is. That would be our our threshold frequency. Because in order to get photoelectrons to be emitted, we need to have light of a higher frequency than the threshold frequency. There's no way of measuring a stopping potential below that. So I don't know why my graph goes negative there at all. I guess I wasn't thinking it through. I suppose we could erase part of it, can't we? Let's pretend that never happened. Right. So there we go. There's our results. And we now know that the gradient of this line, gradient, is going to equal h over e. And we can measure h over e. If we know e, then we can determine h. So if e is known, h is going to be equal to, well, it's going to be equal to the gradient times e. So let's just write that in. Gradient times the charge of the electron. That goes a little further down. Also, because we know E, we can also calculate what phi is. But we'll have to use a value of Vs and a value of F to calculate what the y-intercept is, because we can't measure it from the graph directly. Well, that's okay. We could extrapolate back, or we could use a known value of V and F. So we could read a value of V, and that's an F, and see what I've got in my mind, and F from graph, and they obviously have to correspond to each other, and then use to calculate phi. And that's how we can get the work function. It's also how we can measure Planck's constant with this particular apparatus. Anything else we need to say here? There's a little bit, perhaps we should mention that the amount of charge that's transferred is equal to the current multiplied by the time, but that doesn't really fit in anywhere. It's just good to remember that. It comes up later in the course when we do electricity. Actually, I think it's the next topic. I'll just pop that in there just in case we're wondering why charge flow means we can measure current. Well, it's because current is rate of flow of charge. That's what it is. Just like that. Then it says, anything else here I need to talk about? I don't think so. I think we're done. It's not a big topic, really. So that's the end of lesson 12. And on this particular one, I had loads of note paper left at the end empty. Hopefully you found it helpful.